Hello, everyone. Happy Tuesday. Thank you very much for joining me today. And our topic today is communication, which is the most important thing of what you do to get more business. So just checking there, I am live on my Facebook page. All right. So communication, it's an art form, how we communicate with people. And hopefully you could think of anybody that is anybody you use service wise, where you go shop, where you restaurants, servers, buy a car, get your hair done. Well, I do my own hair. I communicate well with myself. Anywhere that you get a choice as being a consumer, where you go and who you deal with is probably how they communicate with you and connect with you is the reason why you go there. Because a lot of the same services, you have a choice as a consumer. There's other places and stores and places you can go get similar to the same type of service, but just different people. So how many people choose to go certain places because you like the communication, you like the connection with the person that's there. So I'm not going to go into specifics about other industries, but I'm going to talk about real estate and how you need to understand and communicate with people. Now just remember this, not just when they are a client, not when they're a client, just when they're looking to buy or sell a house. And of course, communication is very, very, very important when you have that active client, but how you communicate with people before they're a client, they get to choose you. That's why they choose you when they're ready. So when you're prospecting, when you're networking yourself, you're calling your sphere, whatever you're doing, asking for referrals, talking those referrals, whatever you're doing and communicating with people, and you need to be on duty all of the time. I'm sorry to say it, some agents hate to say it. You need to be on duty all of the time, or at least thinking this. What I mean by that is that the great thing about real estate, everybody you talk to is a potential client, is a potential someday client. They're all going to be buying or selling a house someday in the future, and if they're never going to buy or sell a house in their lifetime, they know someone buying or selling the house, and they could refer you to someone. So everybody is watching you. And I know there's people out there. There's realtors that let me go back to my experience selling houses many years ago when I was just an agent by myself, working out things. I had friends and family not use me because at the time, I was younger, maybe in my 20s. I was not presenting myself to them in a professional way and or communicate with them well, and they just didn't want to recommend me. I found that early on. So I caught that early on. I said, I got to be on all of the time, or at least be knowledgeable of how I communicate with people, because everybody's watching all of the time. So that's something to think about. But today, I'm going to give you about 3 areas, and you probably have heard some of these things before, but I'm going to give you reiterate and go over these again. And I had videos in the past, so if anybody's been watching all my videos, hopefully there's someone out there watching all of them. That would be great, but you might have missed this one, just about how you communicate with people. So there's 3 areas, and I wrote some notes down here. Number 1 is listening. You have to be able to listen. Like I said before, God gave you 2 ears and 1 mouth. You have to listen. In some areas you have to think about is how you listen to them. Is this is a little bit of body language, but that's another topic. Is you got to face them. You've got to look at them, but don't stare at them, and there's little tools or techniques to do that. You can look at, there's different classes I've taken and videos, educational videos I've watched on communication and how you should be looking from eye to eye, or look at their ear, or look a little bit at their mouth, but not staring. You've got to work on that, and because that communication between how you're listening to people, sometimes people get nervous, especially when you're with someone you've never met before. So you got to be very not concerned, but uh, uh, aware of what you're doing when people are doing, and still listen. How many of us are very concerned about where our eyes are, what we're doing, where our hands are, what we're doing, and thinking about the next question we're going to ask people, and are not listening. So it is an art form to make sure you're doing that. Also, you can, in a virtual world like I'm doing now, that's my next note, is that a lot of, I'm doing Zooms with a lot of people, almost daily. I'm on a Zoom call, at least one, with an agent or someone. And I'm right now looking at the camera. So a lot of people look at their screen and are looking in other places. And I notice this a lot. But I look at the camera because I in my head, I'm thinking the camera is their eyes. So you got it. Sometimes if you're doing Zooms with people, please don't, my opinion, don't look at their picture. That's not where the camera is. Look at the camera. That's where they're looking, so they can see you're looking at them. So have you been in Zooms? You see people looking at the picture. So if you need to, get rid of the picture. Move it on the other side of the screen. Minimize it. Do something and practice that so you're looking at their eyes and what they're looking at. Also, of course, when you listen, you can't talk too much. You got to listen more than you talk. So these are just some little bit tips of what you should do to listen. Next is speaking, how you speak to them. Now, I just kind of this is just my opinion, just like how you dress. A lot of agents say, how do I dress? I said, well, you dress for your clients, but you should be a small step ahead or big step ahead of them. There's a lot of agents out there. There's business casual. There's different styles, and you don't have to wear a full 3-piece suit every time you go with clients. I know their agents don't do that anymore. We used to all of the time, but they're not doing that anymore. But just like how you speak, you can't. You got to speak a little bit more professional than them. Just the way you talk. You don't want to, especially someone you've never met before. Some agents get comfortable with the way, how laid back they are and their way they speak and communicate with each other. I always tell agents, if you've never met these people and they're not your friend and they're not their close relative, be careful and aware of what you're saying. So easy it is to talk, to feel like they open the door because they're talking to you like you're a close friend. And I've seen agents lose business. I've seen agents lose clients because they weren't communicating, because they look at you as a professional. They don't look at you sometimes as your friend. So you got to be aware when you're speaking to them. Do they want you to talk to them like your friend, or do they want to be like a professional and someone that they look up to and trust in what you're doing and not dealing. Some people don't want to deal with their friends. They want to deal with a professional. So I've seen agents out there like, oh, I want to make everybody my best friend. Some people don't want their person that's helping them sell their house. They want that professional, not that best friend now. Also, easy things that you could say is when you're speaking to someone, it goes from listening to speaking, is repeat what they say. Like example, someone says, well, I'm thinking about moving to Cleveland Heights. And you go, wow, you're thinking about moving to Cleveland Heights. That's great. What type of house are you looking for? When are you looking for to make that move? So something like that is, again, the way you speak to people is if you repeat what they say, that question, and follow it up with another question. One, you're showing them that you are listening. Two, you're asking another question that you're caring and you're understanding and you're curious and you want to help them and ask them more questions and listen to what they have. So that little technique goes a long way. It seriously does. So try it. Practice on your family and friends or whatever. Is it repeating what they just said, makes them feel like, wow, they were listening. And 2, follow it up with another question. And you don't have to keep on doing it, because it might sound weird if it's question after question after question. You don't have to go, oh, and they're repeating everything I say. No, you got to be aware of that too. Next, the third thing is body language. So body language is very important. Things are, example is, how, when you're face to face with someone, is how you stand. You're standing facing them, not sideways, not looking over your shoulder. Distance on how far you are, not too far, not too close. Especially COVID, you want to be. There's a little bit difference in communication now with that. Also, little things like your eye contact, like I said earlier. Also, crossing your arms. I see a lot of this. Example, I see. I really am I watch myself. I'm not a big arm crosser, but sometimes it just feels more comfortable. I'm sitting in a chair, but it just makes the other people feel like you don't care, or you're casual, or what's going on. But this is ultimately usually a sign that you don't care, or you're stubborn, or you're not going to move, and you're setting yourself, set in your ways. That kind of feeling for people. But I see agents use this in cards. I see this all the time. Yeah, they're doing 2 things that you're not supposed to do. 1, you're supposed to be front. I've seen agents sideways in their card with their arms like this. I'm like, that in body language is 2 things you're not supposed to be doing, but they do it in their cards and things like that. But again, it's all personal preference, but I'm just giving you some tips and ideas. Leaning back in a chair, if you're sitting at a coffee shop or restaurant, or at the house or at their house or whatever, and you're leaning back in your chair and you're moving away from the person you're talking to. When you're moving away, that one sets them. They're like, "Wow, you're moving away back from our conversation," and maybe feel like you're just not engaging, or you want to move away unconsciously or consciously, or kind of, I want to distance myself from this conversation. So that little body language of crossing your arms is showing people face to face. Like I said earlier, if you're doing these type of Zoom class or Zoom meetings with clients, make sure you're face to face, looking at the camera. If you're doing FaceTime with people, make sure you have. If you're doing FaceTime, make sure you have a stand or something so you're looking at the camera. I see a lot of agents. I have FaceTime meetings with agents occasionally throughout the month, and sometimes they're walking around while we're having a meeting. Don't do that. That's honestly, it's a small insulting to me as someone, is that you can't spend the time to sit down, hold the phone in place, don't look around all over the place. If you're gonna walk around and look around and not look at the camera, why don't just have a voice conversation? I see people do this all the time. I see. I ever see people on their FaceTime? I see my kids do this. They do this a lot too. They're on FaceTime with people, but they're not even looking at the camera. So what's the point of being on FaceTime unless you guys are you're looking at each other? But that's me. Maybe I'm thinking about different things. But you got to show them you're not distracted. That they're important to you. That you're looking at them. You're spending the time. You're not looking at other places. You're not walking around. And you're taking the time to really pay attention to what they're saying. So these are just some ideas on how to think of communication, because it's so important. That's how you build relationships with people, when they feel comfortable and they're communicating the way they want you to be. So you're kind of like a little bit of an actor and actress sometimes, because you might be communicating the way you normally don't do. So I say that lightly, where you say you're actor and actress. You're not doing something that you normally wouldn't do. Like, you're not saying things and being a totally different person. I'm just saying how you speak, how you listen. You're morphing yourself into a person that you think that person wants you to be. So you have to change the way you communicate. That's where the acting comes in. So that's it for today. Hopefully that helps you out. Remember, use me as a resource. Feel free to call me, text me, email me anytime. We'll set up some time. We'll go more in detail about this. I just wanted to take a few minutes of your time to give you something to think about while you're communicating with people. So that's it for today. Have a great Tuesday. We'll see you tomorrow at noon on Wednesday. Have a great day, everyone. Bye-bye.